What's up, guys? Welcome back to FishOfHex. In today's video, we're going to continue our subscriber Q&A with Mike Lemming, and we're going to do what, maintenance today, Mike?
We are.
All right, man. Let's go ahead and get right into it.
All right, guys. First off, thanks for watching. I don't have a ton of views on mine, but I've seen Travis's videos, and there's quite a few, and I've gained some subscribers. So thank you, guys. I appreciate it. I'm slowly climbing. It's just nice to see a couple here and there. But let's just get into it. So first off, there's like some debate online. I've tried to figure out what I need to do. I've been doing 10% water changes weekly. Not even 10%, because I have I have a 30 gallon with a 10 gallon sump. I don't know what that comes out to water volume wise, but yeah, everybody says 10% weekly, but I've also seen people say 20% bi-weekly. What do you think?
Well, I mean, I've done both. I've done the 10% weekly, the 20% bi-weekly, and I've actually done like a 30% monthly, and sometimes I've even skipped a month or two. It just depends. The key factor that's going to determine how long your water change is going to be either your maintenance routine when it comes to changing filter socks, how good your skimmer is, how much you're feeding, just general maintenance in general. General maintenance in general will determine how often you have to do that water change. But it's good to have a schedule. Like, for example, I do a 20% every other week. I do it on Sunday. It's just bi-weekly, 20%. Sometimes I do a little bit more. It just depends on how much water I feel like making at that time.
And with my smaller system at the moment, I got the bigger one coming, but with my smaller system at the moment, is it something where I should do weekly because of the impact on such a small water volume,
Well, I mean, if it's convenient for you, I mean, there's going to be convenience around the water change. If you can do a weekly 10%, do it. I mean, there's nothing wrong with that. Yeah, just be consistent.
I do about 4 gallons every week. I try to anyway.
Oh yeah, that's super easy, man. You just fill up a 5-gallon jug. Yeah. Just continue doing your 10% weekly, and then I wouldn't change that. No.
So as you know, I'm trying to get the back to the parameter thing, trying to get this thing going. I did my calcium down, alkalinity down. I did a 10%. I was a little late on it. I think I did it like Monday morning, and I have yet to check, but I'm hoping with these 10% that everything's going to go down.
Takes time. It will, though. It evens itself out. Yeah, it's an ecosystem, and you can't make drastic changes to an ecosystem without having some kind of effect. So, and the safest way would, now that you have, if you had a fish only, I would say go ahead and do the drastic water changes. But since you have coral now and you do have SPS, you have to take the time, or you're gonna lose your stuff.
Yeah. So here's a question too, because my sump has just got detritus all over it. First off, do you take the time to actually clean out your sump tank, regardless of the equipment, but the actual tank?
Well, for this particular build, I have the first section, which is a refugium. Like
60% or something, right?
Yeah. And I use a magnet cleaner to clean the glass, the left side, and then the front. Of course, I clean that. I do that probably once a week just to clean the glass to make it look somewhat presentable. As for the chambers themselves, like for the skimmer and all that stuff, I only clean that in the return section when I clean the pumps themselves. That way I can remove the pumps completely and then get underneath the pump. So I really don't mess with cleaning them.
So it's not too often, right?
No, it's like the return pump's like every 3 months, and the skimmer's about every 3 months or so. It just depends on how
Well, that was one of my questions too. When you did, because I know you put out videos about your return pump and your skimmer. So that was one of my questions, how often you did that. So you're saying 3 months?
It depends. Like, I have the biopellet reactor, and I just
which really gunks it up, right?
Yeah. Well, I've been using a different type of biopellet, so I'm actually going to switch up to a different brand that doesn't have that side effect of the biopellet. So that's something that's in the works. I mean, I just don't want to. I'm not going to switch out all my biopellets right away because I'll end up cycling them. So, yeah. I mean, it just depends on. If the pump starts to, get impacted by the biopellets or detritus, stuff like that, then it would be sooner. And I could tell because the overflow will start gurgling. I'm not getting enough flow through the reactors or whatever. So I'll make the changes from there. But it's usually a set 3 months for both. And this
well, it's good to know. Like I said, with this new setup, I'm trying to do everything, spot on without cutting corners like I did in my current tank. This is just another, pointless question. I mean, I know what you should do, but how often do you clean the glass in your main tank? Is that a daily thing?
Well, I let the glass it's usually an every 3-day thing. Just do it on schedule. But I like to use the glass as a guide or a judge of how my tank is reacting to, feeding, and if I need to do a water change, the glass will get dirtier sooner. I'm not talking about full on covered, but it will start to show a little bit of brown or green. So every 3 days is about average. And if I start having to clean it every other day or every day, then I know that I'm due for a water change.
I'm doing something wrong because mine's fuzzy every day I get home from work.
Yeah, well, we discussed that your last video that you're off ATO water, it's at 63.
Something, yeah, so, 60, 65, something.
Yeah, that's too high.
It's just my current cheap RODI is just not doing good.
Yeah, well, that's
the first week I was testing like 3. I used it half dozen times, and then I was testing like 30, and now I'm to the point where it's like 80. And the thing is brand new, so it's kind of not even being used. I've just been buying distilled water. So I plan on getting something official to, kind of make my water instead of just half-assing it,
Yeah, and once you get your nitrates and phosphates and all that stuff under control, then cleaning the glass will be like that.
I bought a phosphate test kit, 0.
Well, there's 0 because your algae in the tank is using up all available phosphates.
Good news.
That's what's going on. I love people like, yeah, I'm testing 0, but like, yeah, but you have algae, so where's the phosphorus going? It's getting eaten by the
So on to my next question. A lot of these questions are like, again, like I just said, trying to set myself up for success for the next one. But you're using a dual reactor, right? The BRS dual reactor.
Yeah. Yep.
It's probably different from tank to tank, but like, how often are you changing the media for that thing?
30 days. Every 30 days, I'll
both.
Yep. Well, basically the carbon will get exhausted before the GFO, but for the sake of maintenance, I just change them both at the same time. I use a smaller amount of GFO just because then I'm not wasting as much. I do about half as much as the tank recommends.
Just like the BRS calculator.
Off the GFO in general. I use a standard GFO. It's 2 cups for my tank size. I do a cup just because, I'm not trashing my tank with food or anything, so I don't feel the need to use that much. Plus, it tumbles better with less GFO. And then, again, I use a cup of the BRS ROX 0.8 carbon, which is awesome stuff. I love that stuff.
I don't know what I'm going to use yet. I mean, you seem to be having success, so I'll probably just follow your lead.
Yeah. It's good stuff. I should have got it. I wish I had it years ago, man. It's just really good stuff. So. Yeah.
On to my next question. And this is just kind of like reflecting on what I do and kind of comparing. But when you're doing your water changes, say, all right, today is your every other Sunday, you're doing your water change, water's made. Other than the actual water change, what else are you doing?
Like in the tank in general, when it comes to my water changes, I know that I did that bi-weekly water change video. It seems to be pretty popular, actually. I don't know how many people watch 32 minutes of me jacking off with the tank, but it was basically I will siphon out all the detritus because it's a bare bottom tank. So I'll turkey base the rocks and everything, spread the detritus, have the pumps blowing, leave the filter socks on there so I'll get up all the detritus, siphon out as much as I can, then do the water change. And then, pull a macroalgae, anything like that. 9 out of 10 times, my GFO and carbon change do not fall on the same day as my water change. So, like, sometimes during the week, I'll just do the GFO change. And I mean that's kind of good too, because you don't want to change out a bunch of GFO and then do a decent sized water change at the same time, because you might end up pulling too much out too quickly. So it kind of works out that way. I don't know. It's probably not a big deal if you change GFO and have a 30% water change.
I haven't been doing all that. It's like every third time I'm like blowing off the rocks. Maybe I'm lazy, which I shouldn't be in this hobby, but I usually, of course, do my filter stock after the water change. But like as far as a ton of stuff, I don't go crazy. I feel more accomplished with my overflow that I'm actually doing water change and dealing with the BS that comes along with the siphon.
Well, once that situation's over with, you'll find
which is going to be soon, dude.
Yeah.
Soon.
Yeah.
I'm pumped for that. That's going to make life a lot easier, dude.
Oh yeah.
Because once I get that, then the ATO can, or the auto top off can go in, and then it's just going to make life so much easier. I'm really looking forward to that.
Yeah.
What else I got? How often do you clean your overflow box? You get in there. I know you're meticulous with
I've never
everything.
cleaned it.
You never clean it,
no,
really?
Well, 2 reasons why is because I can't get to it. Basically, I have this low profile in the front that's in the tank, and then I have the bigger, the actual drainage part is in the back behind the tank. I couldn't get access to it if I tried. Plus, I have it sealed. The top is sealed with a piece of acrylic. or not really sealed, but pretty much kind of like taped down.
Yeah.
And it's probably salt encrusted now.
So would you assume there's probably a bunch of bullshit in the bottom of that, like the first chamber?
There probably is, but it won't affect the flow because the tubes actually come up at an angle.
Do,
so
yeah.
it's not like, you're siphoning off the bottom of the box. Yep. So
well, that's good, because I've seen people that, like, there's a guy online I watch, he's actually out of Quincy, I think, but he says every time he does a water change, he gets in there with like a toothbrush and a siphon and does it every time. I mean, it might be great.
Yeah, more power to you, I guess.
It's not needed. Yeah. I'm not going to waste my time.
No.
All right, cool. So we kind of talked about this privately a while ago. Might even have been on a video, on our first video. Either way, power heads in your sump chambers. I've heard it's nice to kind of, instead of having detritus just settle on the bottom, it's nice to kind of have it moving around to get collected in areas where it should, like your sponges, or gets shot back in your tank, therefore it'll overflow back into your filter socks. You don't use power heads in your sump, right?
No, I mean, and plus I have the refugium section there, which, the detritus is going to come down, go into the filter socks, so it's not really going to be anything moving around in the original chamber. And I don't really see the concept or the idea behind putting a power head in any other section, because you're just going to stir up detritus and have it sucked up in your pump, could affect the pump, and then get shot into your display tank and have like pieces of stuff flying everywhere. So I don't really see the benefits of that.
You'd rather just like siphon it out, get it out of there?
Yeah, just siphon it when you do your maintenance. You can either do it when you do a water change, take water out of the sump instead, or both the main tank and the display and the sump, or just do it when you clean your return pump and your skimmer. I don't really see any other need to have detritus floating around freely in the in the sump like that.
Because my tank's almost 3 months old. I don't even know anymore, dude. But there seems to be quite a bit in, first chamber is where it comes down into my skimmer and stuff. Second chamber is refugium. Third, change of return. But my first and third, it seems like there's shit all over. So like, I've tried to suck it out. And it works, but it's not easy because I have such a small sump right now.
Well, once you get those filter socks hooked up there, you'll be taking all that stuff that is settling is what's coming from the display tank.
Coming through.
Yeah, so right. I mean, it's all, shit rolls downhill. So, once you're able to pull that out with a filter sock, you're not going to be as dirty, if that makes sense. So.
Yeah, I hear you. And this might be another point of this question. You ever clean your ATO reservoir?
When I used to run calc through it, I rinsed it out every once in a while, but there really is no need unless...
There's no need, right? Nothing gets in there, right?
Unless something does get in there or, whatever. But strictly ATO container is strictly just for RODI water.
Clean water,
and a pump that shouldn't be in any other thing but your RODI system, or in your return or auto top-off system.
So this is kind of like an equipment/maintenance question. Heaters. Do you wait till they mess up and stop working, or do you just have like a 12-month time frame that once 12 months hits you replace them? Like how does that work? Because I have heaters of mine, they're nothing great, they're like Aqueon whatever's, Petco. I would like to get something nicer, but without a controller, and I'm just using my basic thermometer, digital thermometer. So like I've only had them for like 2 or 3 months. So if they go in 6 months from now, is that when I change them? Or like I said, should I set like a 12-month schedule and then just not even worry about it and just get a new one, throw them out?
Well, a couple things to that is you don't really know how long they're going to last. So you can't just dictate that you're going to buy a new heater every 6 months, because you can just buy that new heater and have it die the next day. It's all manufactured, mass produced, so you can't control the quality essentially. But there's two ways to look at it: people who have controllers and people who don't have controllers. So let's look into the people who don't have controllers, how they should do it. Obviously, buy the best quality that you can afford, period. Buy a brand that's got a good rating, that you can control a digital display, or has temperature control that can tell you when it's on and off, and that's been reliable. So I always have 2 heaters all times in every tank. That's it.
What are you using, by the way?
I don't even know. They're just some off-brand. They're like eBay cheap heaters, but they're working. But I only use cheap heaters on a controller. Basically, I run 2 heaters to extension cord essentially, and then that connects to one outlet on the apex. I crank the heaters both all the way up and let the apex control the on and off. So how I know one's dying is if, say, the temperature fluctuates 0.5 degrees every day. So when one would die, it's going to fluctuate, 0.8 degrees every day, and it will do that consistently for a few days. And I'll be like, oh, one of the heaters must be dead. So we'll check and see which one is dead, replace it, continue on as always.
How do you figure out which one's not
Well,
working?
I mean, you could feel it turn on. You turn the heaters on and feel which one has heat coming out of it, and then just replace that one. So the little fluctuations, keeping track of your graphs and the temperatures and catching up on those little things will let you know when the heater is no longer working the way it should. So
it's good to know. Like I said, the Apex is just something that I'm shooting for. I want to get, but it's just hard. You got a family, you got a kid, you got a house, a car, you have all these bills, and now you're trying to throw $500 plus at an Apex. So it's something I'll eventually get. I don't know how soon. I'd like to get it tomorrow, but
well, let me give you a perspective on this whole thing. So how much money would you say you have in your system right now, just off the top of your head?
It's a 30-gallon, and it's enough.
Well, okay. So we'll say just under $1,000, maybe. Roughly. Okay. Well, let me explain.
I don't know who's watching this video.
Yeah. Well, okay. The Apex, having an aquarium controller is the best purchase I've ever made, period.
Yeah.
I would never run a tank that I ever put any kind of money in. I've run freshwater plant tanks without it. It's not a big deal. But I would never run a reef tank without one. The controllability, the alarms, and everything are so good to have and make life so much easier. I wouldn't do it without it. Now, the way you want to look at it and your approach to when I build a reef tank, I look at my priorities. You have to build from a foundation. So you're going to need a tank with an overflow, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Then you're going to want something that controls the tanks. So my next purchase after purchasing the tank and the stand would be a controller, because then you want to build your house on that foundation. Then you can add all the things and the modules and all that good stuff that you want to do later. But then you'll still have that controllability in the system, and that's what you're looking for. So I always recommend to all my clients is if you're going to make a purchase on a tank, get a controller and make it a good controller.
And that's another good thought. I think as a guy new to the hobby and never having one, I think we should do, for all the noobs out there like me, a controller Q&A, because
yeah, that's fine. Yeah,
I mean, there's so much shit you could do, and there's so many questions that I have. Cost, and I mean, there's just a ton of questions, because that's a big purchase, So I'd like to.
It is, but you have to think about it. If your system, if you were to leave your house right now for a week, and your temperature got too high and your system crashed, you'd lose that $1,000. Or you could have
a house for a week.
Well, I'm just saying.
Like I said, I'd throw a hang on the back and hopefully the best if I left.
Well, that's the thing is, you could leave. There's people whose tanks crash after 4 hours of the power being out. Now, if you had an Apex, it would tell you the power's out and you can do something about it. So it's like, do I spend this much and have the ease of mind and knowing that everything's going to be okay, or do I hold off the purchase and take the risk of losing everything?
Here's a side note, off topic. Mm-hmm. Do you have a battery backup on your tank?
No, I have a generator. So I not connected to it, but if the alarm goes off, I can just
crank it up.
Crank it up, yeah.
Well, yeah, it'll have to happen.
If you got to think how much I have in my tank right now. Buying a $150 generator or lose $10,000.
Yeah.
That'd be stupid not to.
Yep, I hear you.
Have one, you know what I'm saying?
So back to the topic. Here's another question. You clean your reactors and your dosing pumps? In my opinion, it doesn't seem like there's a whole lot to clean in a dosing pump. I don't know. You're pretty meticulous. You could take it apart and pipe clean it for all I know. But as far as reactors, dosing pumps, is that something you deal with on a month-to-month basis, 3-month basis? What are you doing with that?
When I do my GFO change, I clean the reactor. I clean the cartridge that it sits in and all that good stuff. So that's just general maintenance on that. And it's that same with carbon.
And that's done that's every 30 days when you change?
Every 30 days. So when I do the biopellet reactor, I think I have it set every 2 months to go in there and clean out the inlet and the outlet because of that film. And then I also I did a video to take the return pipe to the skimmer out, clean that to try this out. So that's every a month or two or something like that I cleaned the biopellet reactor. And when it comes to dosing pumps, never cleaned them. I know that there, I think it's the A additive, I believe, on the Red Sea color program that's kind of like an orange color. I haven't seen any kind of clogging or anything, and it works fine. But if I was to clean those, I would just connect them and run vinegar through them like manually, just over and over again. Yeah, so
that sounds like a good plan. Because again, you know, eventually I'll have a dosing pump. I'll be new to it. I don't know what to do with it. And I mean, I don't have a ton of more questions, just kind of off the top of my head. But this is another one I kind of wrote down as we were talking. Microalgae. This is kind of, it is a maintenance question. You just got to deal with it every once in a while. I know you have probably 30 gallons worth of refugium, so you have a lot of microalgae growing. How often you like changing that? Do you wait till it's stuffed and you like they can't grow anymore?
No, every 2 weeks I pull out about 5 gallons every 2 weeks.
What are you doing? Are you throwing it? You selling it? What are you doing?
I sell it. I mean, I sell it to people all the time, but it's not something that you ship. I mean, you can ship it, but the price for shipping is almost like, why bother even buying?
That's how I started. I got like a golf ball size off eBay for like $5.
Yeah.
Now it's probably the size of like a volleyball or something. So it's doing well, but I'm getting to the point where I probably have like maybe a 4-gallon refugium right now, and I have Dragon's Breath and Kato in there. And I don't know if I should take some Kato out because the Dragon's Breath's kind of like struggling. So it's just, like I said, I don't know if I should wait till it's packed and it's coming out of the water. Or
well, you want to pull it out so it has to have room to grow. If it doesn't have room, it's not going to grow as well as it should. I'm not saying it won't grow at all, but it you know, a lot of people like to tumble it. I don't have that option for my situation, but yeah, I mean, I have 2 100-watt LEDs over that, and I run it about 13 hours a day on the off cycle of my tank, and 13 hours. And
you're doing reverse cycle. Right?
Yeah. Well, I actually have it. It actually kind of, while the light is ramping and falling on the tank, I have it on during that time, just to, you know, as a general, as it's been like that. So, but yeah, it's 5 gallons every 2 weeks. Most of the time, 9 out of 10 times, I chuck it in the backyard. But usually, I have, you know, people stop by and buy it. I sell, you know, big clumps for like $10. You know, huge, you know.
Yeah, that's people. Those
or
are
I donate it to Petco, one or the other.
Like I said, the one I got off eBay, it was like $5 plus shipping. It ended up being, I don't know, closer to $10 for like a little.
Yeah.
I mean, I had to. My local fish stores didn't have it. I didn't know you at the time. I mean, so I bought it. So I mean, that little investment really did me well because it's thriving right now. But
well, I know that. I mean, right now, like flat rate shipping box is like $6.70. I can send it anywhere, and if somebody wants to pay for that, I mean, I'll send, you know, an entire box full for, you know, $10-15 and mail it out. I mean, if they want to pay for shipping, so you'll get your money's worth. But you know, usually, like I said, I either throw it out, I either donate to Petco, but they don't get rid of it fast enough before the next 2 weeks comes out, or you know, I just, you know, sell to people who want to come by and pick it up. So
yeah. Well, I mean, as far as my predetermined questions, that's about it. So I mean, it's been good. I did learn a lot. I mean, can't wait for this 75 to get going so I can actually put this stuff to use. But dude, I appreciate you taking the time again. This has been fun.
That's cool.
I think, like we talked about the Apex, that should be another topic covered because there's guys like me who have like a smaller setup that would like, you know, to take their mind off their tank from time to time and not have to just worry all the time. There's guys that have tanks that are thinking about it but don't really know. I mean, there's videos all over YouTube that show you everything, but once you really get to ask the questions that you want to ask with someone who uses it, that's when you gain the most knowledge. So I think that should be a category, and I also think we still haven't covered livestock yet.
No,
cleanup crews. So I mean, there's still a lot we can talk about.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean, this hobby never ends, so that's for sure. All right, man. Well, hey, I appreciate it. And as always, guys, I'm going to put Mike's channel in the description below. And if you like the video, like it. If you have any questions, put it in the comment section below. And as always, I appreciate it. And I'll see you next time, guys.
Thanks.
Peace.